throughout our Day 8 coverage of Broncos training camp. Benjamin Albright breaks down what he learned throughout the first week of camp and which side of the ball has gotten the best of the other. I'll chat with third-year starting center Lloyd Cushenberry to learn how Russell Wilson has made him a better player in their short time together. And finally, Steve Atwater and Ryan Edwards detail what they see on the field with the Broncos back in full pads. All that and much more coming up next.
Welcome to Broncos Training Camp 2022 with Steve Atwater. Here's your host, Alexis Perry.
The Denver Broncos have taken the field for a 2-hour heavy workload as the installation process continues in full pads here today. Hello, everyone, and welcome inside the UC Health Training Center. I'm Alexis Perry, joined by Benjamin Albright of Broncos Country tonight. Of course, his comrade Ryan Edwards will be along here shortly up on the stage with the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater. But first, yesterday, Ben, we heard from head coach Nathaniel Hackett for the very first time after we learned that wide receiver Tim Patrick and running back Demaria Crockett will miss the entire 2022 season with torn ACLs. Now this morning they signed wide receiver Darius Shepard. Yesterday they signed the running back Max Borghi, who was here throughout the offseason. So it's safe to say that these signings were made obviously to help fill those voids left by Patrick and Crockett. So what do we know about these newest additions?
Well, Max Borghi, the local kid, obviously.
Yes.
I think that's always fun to kind of get the local kid, get the fans excited about that. Get more of a depth signing than anything else, but certainly will have an opportunity to work his way on this roster. Darius Shepard has more experience in the league. He's been around a while. He's had stops in Kansas City, Minnesota, obviously familiar with the offense here in Green Bay. Familiar with the offense in Green Bay and now here, I should say. He's played in 14 games over the course of his career. Bit of a smaller guy, only about 5'10", not replacing Tim Patrick's size.
Yeah, 6'4" is tough to replace.
We're hoping he replaces his heart.
Well, you know, I will say that yesterday was a light jog through practice, but as we really look back through the past 7 days, it seems like the defense really has the edge over the offense so far. So is that because the offense is coming along slower than anticipated, or is the defense just further along than we would have thought given the changes to the coaching staff?
Well, there's a natural advantage to the defense when you start training camp, you start that process, especially when you don't have pads on. The offensive linemen can't get in there and hold, right?
Yep.
So the pass rush is going to come free on the quarterback. That's going to give them more opportunities, the defense more opportunities to feast because there just isn't as quality of blocking. That said, I mean, you got a new quarterback, you got a new offense, you got a new offensive coordinator, a new head coach, and so that's taking a while to learn. This defense was ready-made, plug-and-play kind of thing. So the offense has some catching up to do. I'm not worried about it. I think they're going to be fine, but right now the defense does have the advantage.
Well, given the fact that the pads are back on today, all eyes will be on the trenches and some of the position battles going on there at the guard and tackle position. So, you know, what are your early impressions of those position battles, and, you know, what does it take to really separate yourself from the rest when it comes to earning a starting role?
Well, it takes going out there and having great reps when you have the pads on because, I mean, you're talking about guys that are going to get limited work and rotation and all that. We've seen Tani Moody get rotated in with the starters at both the left and the right. We've seen Quinn Meinerz and Dalton Reisner be the starters at the guard position so far. And Lloyd Cushenberry, a guy who has been kind of maligned over the last 2 years for getting pushed into the backfield a little bit on the strength, might have finally found the scheme that's tailor-made for him as he has excelled in the zone blocking so far.
You know, you mentioned Lloyd Cushenberry. I actually stole a moment of his time coming out onto the practice field a little bit earlier to learn, you know, what it's been like working with Russell Wilson so far this offseason and into training camp. Take a listen. Lloyd, this is your third training camp here with the Denver Broncos, but your first with Russell Wilson under center. Russ said that you snapped the ball to him over 800 times while in San Diego. So how has the addition of Russell Wilson helped you become a better center?
It's been great. It's just helping me with my consistency, a certain way he likes his snaps. So just working. It's good that I got to go out there to San Diego to practice with the guys, but it's been great. Just have some consistency at quarterback, and can't ask for a better one than Russell Wilson.
Your football IQ is well documented, but what are some of the challenges that have come with learning the outside zone scheme?
You know, just anytime you get new coaches, new coaching staff, they bring in their own philosophy. So just learning the terminology and just learn as much as I can so I can go out there and play fast without thinking about anything. And I feel like the group as a whole, we've done a good job of that.
As someone who is always seeking room for improvement, what are some of the ways that you hope to improve your game this season?
Just putting together a more consistent play throughout the year. Last season, kind of up and down. Started off, good, kind of dipped midway, and then finished off strong. So just trying to be more consistent and just become one of those top guys you think about around the league.
What are you looking forward to in full pads here today?
Intense. You know, it's seventh or eighth day of camp, so as you can hear, the guys are ready. It's going to be intense, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we love seeing that intensity from you. Have fun out there today. Thanks. Ben, what are some of the things that you're looking to see from Lloyd Cushenberry as he looks to make a big leap here in 2022?
I think the main thing is functional strength. You know, he struggled to anchor at the point of attack at times, and he's gotten kind of manhandled by more of the physical interior defensive linemen around the league. So we want to see, even though he's maybe slimmed down just a little bit for this zone blocking scheme, we still want to see him get stronger in his third year in an NFL strength and conditioning program and be able to push off at that point of attack.
Well, soon the team will switch from warm-ups here to individual drills. So as we make that switch, listen it up to your comrade, Ryan Edwards from Broncos Country tonight, and the Hall of Famer, Steve Atwater. Gentlemen, take it away.
All right, thanks so much, Alexis. Here with my good friend, Ryan Edwards. Man, we've spent a lot of time together over the last few years. I appreciate it. But yeah, I want to just make a few comments on Lloyd Cushenberry there. You know, when we were watching him and listening to what Alexis and Ben were talking about, we both were kind of shaking our heads. Yeah, this is the year he needs to make a jump. What do you think he has to do to make that jump? Because I think this offense actually fits what he does well.
I absolutely think it fits him well. His athleticism. The thing that Ben brought up, though, is appropriate, right? The functional strength. He gets sort of blown up on those bull rushes, and he's got to be able to hold his own. You know, one thing that we've seen here in the league, no matter what quarterback is back there, if you put pressure on them right in the middle, right up front into their lap, there's very few quarterbacks that survive and do well in those circumstances. So 100% for Lloyd Cushenberry, he's got to be a strength, and he cannot be a liability there in the interior of the offensive line. But the good news, I think, for him is they have some nice competition at the guard position this year. And I think Quinn Miners in his second year is going to be fantastic. That's going to give him some strength there on the right side. And then the left side, look, you know, you heard Dalton Reisner the other day talking about it, saying, hey, we got to have the best 5 offensive linemen. I am 100% up for the opportunity to compete for my job. And we've seen Tani Moody out there working in at left guard a little bit. So I think one way or the other, they're going to have a lot of strength in the interior of the offensive line. It's going to be not a problem this year.
Yeah, well, they're going to have a chance to prove it today out here. They're full pads again.
Excited.
Excited about it. First day of full pads. We had a couple of injuries that took some guys out for the season. Hopefully, we'll get back on track today, have an injury-free practice, but still be productive with that. Now, I've heard some people say, well, man, they're only practicing in pads a few times. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I'm good with it. I was going to ask you that because you're more the old school football guy, and usually it's the old school football guys. Like back in my day, we had 2-a-days in pads, sometimes 3-a-days in pads. I don't even remember the last one because we were so tired. Like that's what mostly the older players tend to have a bigger issue. I don't think any of the younger guys or any of the younger NFL fans care as much about all that. It's like, are you ready to play? Are you ready to go? And if there are a way to avoid some injuries, potentially some wear and tear, I think it's a good thing. I don't have a problem with it. Also, not to mention, we're in a little bit of a different era of football, right? The amount of money that is out there on the field versus 10, 20 years ago is significantly different. The amount of investment. You can't have a guy get hurt early on and potentially cripple your roster and your cap. So, listen, for me, I don't have much of an issue with it, but you, as an older player, I mean, you guys are the ones that are usually bellyaching about it.
You know what? I don't have an issue with it either.
Okay.
Once Mike Shanahan came and we started practicing a different way, and I think it was smarter, and I think it was quite similar to the way that the guys practice now. The only thing was we did thud up when we had the pads on, and when we didn't have the pads on, there was no thudding up. It was just you get to your position, full speed, break down, make sure you're put your body in position to make plays. But I'm with you. I like it. I like it for the players. I think the guys mentally, they know when they got to hone in and really know what they got to learn, because that's a huge part of this as well. A big part of it is, you got to make the play when you get there, but you got to know what you got to do. You got to know where you need to be to make that play first, and that starts with the mental side of it. And they're getting a lot of mental reps in, and that's going to help them to execute once they get into game type situations.
Yeah, well, when you add in also where we're at now, I mean, guys spend all season working on their bodies, being ready. It's not, again, I don't know how different it was in your era. I know guys like Shannon Sharp where they're just working out all the time. But guys don't spend the off season lying on the beach the entire time or doing whatever, and then they use camp to get ready for the season, right? They got trainers.
They didn't do that
got
back when I
chefs.
played either. That wasn't that long ago. That was back. Talking about back when guys were smoking cigarettes and all that in the locker room. That didn't happen back when I played.
Okay, well, listen, man.
Yeah, we just drank a few brews.
Oh,
every
yeah,
now
I
and
mean,
then.
that's totally normal behavior for professional athletes. Yes, exactly. That's a good point. You're right. I guess I'm going a little too far back in the time machine there. But yes, I think we're at a point we know more about the necessity and how you get ready for the season, and I don't think it's that big a deal. Now, the thing that people are really losing their minds about, specifically for Nathaniel Hackett, the way he's designed these practices, is no 7-on-7s. We're not seeing skeleton out here. We're not seeing the individual wide receiver DB drills out here, or offensive lineman versus defensive lineman, individual in the phone booth, any of that stuff. I think that's great. I mean, I can't
think
wait.
it's great?
I think it's great. And
Okay.
I'll give you a lot of reasons why, because if I put some thought into this, I assume you don't think it's great.
You know what? I believe in Coach Hackett. And
That's a smart answer.
No, I'm serious because as a coach, you always have to be innovative and, try different things. And this has worked for him. Now, I'm not used to seeing it, but I definitely can see the benefit of it being in game-like situations
Yes.
Majority of the times versus when you go off to yourself. There's not many times in a game where you can just say, all right, I'm just going to focus on this guy and I don't have to worry about everything else that's going on. Normally, what you're doing is being impacted by the other guys on the defense or the offense, the guy next to you, and you got to play in unison with those things. So I like it. I really do.
Okay. See, and you just totally blew up my premise there. I was prepared to all right, Steve Atwater is a defensive player. He's going to come out here and he's old school.
You need one-on-ones.
I want the one-on-ones. I want to get those reps in. I need that.
In the one-on-ones, there is some benefit to it because that's the most difficult it can get. Playing with a quarterback who doesn't have any pressure, with a receiver who knows the route. He doesn't have to worry about running anybody else. He just makes it to where it's so simple for them. And so it makes it difficult for the defensive back. And I think the defensive back actually benefits from that because that's as hard as it's going to get.
Yeah, but see, when the 7-on-7, for example, how many times have we heard defensive players, you can speak to this, say there's no pass rush. This isn't real football. We are expected to match up with these receivers out in routes.
Not so much on 7-on-7.
Yeah.
Because 7-on-7,
it's an offensive drill.
Yeah.
But you can run that offensive drill without even the defensive players out there. You know what I'm saying? Hey, if the whole design of it is to make sure everybody's running the correct routes when the play's called, do that. And we've seen that multiple times. We've seen Russell pull the guys off to the side. Hey, this is what we're going to do. You're going to run the route tree, and we're going to do these things. You can do all those things without going to 7-on-7. I just think there's a lot of hand-wringing about missing that, when the reality is, hey, let's see. To take words from you, we'll see if this ends up being
No, you got to say it the right way. We'll see.
We'll see if this ends up working out. But I like the concept of it. I like practicing what you're actually going to do. I like practicing in-game, real moments. The one thing I haven't really seen a ton of, though, so far, maybe we'll see it today, is a little more move the ball. That's one thing. Also see Russell pushing the ball downfield a little bit. But, hey, man, otherwise, I like the pacing of it. I like practicing real example moments in football. I think it's great.
All right, so before we leave the topic there, do you feel like any positions benefit from the one-on-ones, or you think nobody benefits from it?
I didn't say there was no benefit. I just don't. I think the benefit gets overblown a little bit. I'm not saying those drills don't have any functional purpose. I think there's shades of gray here, right? It's well, what are we really trying to accomplish here? To see offensive, defensive linemen go up against each other. Okay, you won the rep. Let's just play that out. Okay, the defensive lineman won the rep. Does that tell you the offensive lineman can't do his job? Well, no, not necessarily, because what if he's blocking in
and
zone?
Somebody else is going to chip him.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Or hold.
That's right. Well, they hold doing those drills too.
They're hold it every single time. But you know what I'm saying? How often are you man on man in those situations and you don't have help, or there's nobody else, or the quarterback? Because even if you lose your rep, hey man, quarterback's got to be able to think quick on those opportunities too. We go to the wide receiver DB. I think that there's something to that, just a competition portion of it. But once again, no safety help over the top. Are we saying that hey, you're going to be one-on-one enough? What if you're a slot receiver? How often you're one-on-one in a very small amount of space? You're not one-on-one running 9 routes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's a different thing.
No, I agree with that. Showing the receivers there, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and KJ Hamler. That's going to be the trio there.
That's 1, 2, 3.
That's what it looks like. Montreal Washington may find his way up in the mix too. Yes. See the receivers there again. Man, we've been talking about them. They're missing my guy, Tim Patrick.
I know.
TP, we hoping for a speedy recovery for you, my friend.
It's a big hit.
Yes. But hey, somebody's got to step up.
Somebody's got to step up. If I'm guessing at this very moment, I think Montreal Washington is making a very strong case for that.
Okay, now, hang on. Let me ask a question on that quickly. Montreal Washington, different style of player.
He is.
You know, he's a smaller receiver, speedy receiver. How does that? Do you need to have a big receiver at the position that he played? Because Tim Patrick was out on the edge.
What you need more than the size of Tim Patrick is the possession ability of Tim Patrick. When you need a catch, that guy gets it for you. So who's going to be that guy? Because we got speedsters, right? You got KJ Hamler to take the top off. Jerry Jeudy, one of the elite route runners in the game. Cortland Sutton's your ex. He's your number 1 guy. Who's going to be the possession guy? Who's going to be the, hey, we need to get 6 yards right now to get this first down? I think it's going to be Kendall Hinton. If you're asking me, I think Kendall Hinton profiles more like Tim Patrick in that respect. And to be honest, yesterday when we saw them working a little bit of goal line, I know it was walkthrough, but when Russ kind of pulled the guys over, Kendall Hinton in the ball cap, it was Kendall Hinton was the 4th guy. He was the one hanging out with everybody down here on the goal line. So for me, if I'm just looking at the way things are shaking out and looking at the experience, I think that's who profiles there. But hey, listen, Montreal Washington absolutely brings something that is very dynamic to the receiving room. And I think there are some scenarios this season where you can play some matchups. Can you imagine, hey, just for a second, can you imagine a KJ Hamler, Montreal Washington on the field at the same time?
Oh, my goodness. Everybody's got to back up. Because they can fly by you, and they can run those intermediate routes. And once they call it softening up the defense. Hey, run a couple of go routes, and then they're going to be on their toes, on their heels, and then you can run any route you want to then.
So much fun. And the possibilities. But again, it's kind of up to Montreal to earn that opportunity, right?
Yes.
And he's got to first get down what they really need him to be, which is a returner. They need him to be a really good special teams player. He's a 5th rounder. For what it's worth, coming into camp, you're not a lock for the roster as a 5th rounder. He's going to have that opportunity. He's been the first guy up at returner. I think he's doing a good job at that. But we won't know till games, right? We won't know till preseason games. But the opportunities on offense, he's going to have to earn those. But I'm excited. Watching him out here at camp, I'm excited to see what that could look like.
I agree with that. We're showing KJ Hamler here on the screen.
He looks good out there.
Do you look at KJ Hamler and Montreal Washington as, hey, they're the same player?
No, not necessarily. And I don't know, straight line speed, KJ might be a little faster. I know what he say he was.
They're going to race, right?
They kind of have to, right? I mean, let's be honest.
There'll be a show there.
But I'd say no. And I look, for me, KJ Hamler, watching him in college, I always thought that they never should pigeonhole him into a straight line, take the top off guy only, because I think he's got some Emmanuel Sanders to his game. I think he's got some dog out there. And one of the things when it's fun to watch him, because he's a good route runner.
Yeah.
He doesn't get the credit for that. Sometimes people just say, oh, well, you're just a speed guy, you're a burner, we're just going to send you on 9 routes all game. It's like, no, man, he's better than that. So I think he's more refined, and I think that if he's healthy, he's going to be able to show some of that dimension. You always have to respect that he could go on a sluggo and take you deep. But, yeah.
Speaking of Emmanuel Sanders.
Again, another guy, he came into the league as a 3rd-round pick, right? And just speed, right? But he's a really good route runner. And he showed that even early on in Pittsburgh.
He's a great route runner, but he has some of the best hands I've ever seen with the receiver.
And that's something KJ's got to improve on for sure.
But Emmanuel Sanders, he worked on that.
Yeah.
We see him in between drills. Whenever he's not on the field, he's catching passes.
He is.
And that was so impressive to me. And hopefully these guys can pick up, some of those nuggets, some of the guys that were here, Cortland and Tim and those guys, hopefully they remember that and they can use that because, as a receiver, you got to catch every opportunity because you never know which one is going to be the big one.
Did you intend that catch every opportunity? Was that?
No. I'm just saying, every opportunity that you have, you got to make the catch because you never know which one is.
Thank you. I figured
that was over my head. What did you say? What did you talk about?
You said catch every opportunity. A little bit of double meaning there. That's all. You're super clever these days. I just want to make sure that
I'm saying every opportunity you have to catch the ball.
Got you. I got you.
You got to take advantage.
You're 100% right. If it's not Kendall Hinton, as I'm speculating, or Montreal Washington, who's your guy? Who would you say is positioning themselves, or you're predicting might have a shot?
Now, have you seen Brandon Johnson?
I have seen Brandon Johnson. And by the way, I'll say very quickly before I get your thoughts on that, talking to the DBs out here, that's the name that comes up dang near every time.
Really?
Every time.
So he's difficult to cover.
They bring him up often.
Okay. Well, he's a guy that is going to be in the mix for, winning a position. 6'2", 195 pounds, University of Central Florida.
Looks bigger, too, by the way.
Yeah.
I got to be honest.
Runs pretty good routes.
Yep.
His dad was a professional baseball player. I don't know how that helps, but having those athletic genes may help some. But, obviously he has to go out and compete and learn the playbook, work hard, all that good stuff. But from what I've seen on the field, I like what he's doing out there.
I do, too. And they got some fun young receivers, right? They got Jalen Virgil, who's got some returnability. You got Brandon Johnson. You've got what's the other guy? That 84, Trey Quinn.
Yes.
Out here.
Caden Davis. He's made some plays.
First guy out here every single day.
Yes.
You got some fun young receivers, and that's one of the things why when the Broncos unfortunately lost Tim Patrick, which is a big hit. There's no doubt. You're not going to immediately reproduce that production, but the thing about it is we knew this was deep receiver room. This is a big opportunity for these guys to go out there and do something, to go out there and show the coaching staff, show the Broncos that they belong in the league. And so I didn't expect that the Broncos were going to go swing for Odell Beckham or swing for a big name receiver, because I think they want to see what these guys can do. And you're at a point in training camp, you haven't even had the preseason games, where you say, okay, as long as we got Cortland, Jerry, KJ, we can work on who that fourth guy can be.
Yeah, and obviously we had Tim Patrick before he went down, but now,
right.
I mean, you got to kind of plan for this year being without him because he's on IR. Hey, I like it. Good, great breakdown there. We spoke a little bit yesterday about tight ends, Atwater, and then Greg Dulcich being back in the mix.
Yeah, good to see him out there.
Yeah, good to see him. I'm not sure how much activity he's going to have. Yesterday was his first day practicing during training camp. What have you seen with his game so far, and what do you like about him?
Well, I'm a huge Greg Dulcich fan.
Huge.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Greg Dulcich Fan 5. But I'm just kidding. But the guy's catch radius is out of this world. And he is the guy that, when you're looking for the Travis Kelce, the next Travis Kelce, that's what he looks like to me.
Oh, you think he can be Travis Kelce?
At UCLA, that's what he was for them. He was the soft spot in the zone. He was the guy that could take it upfield. He was the guy that you just put it in the general area for him, and he's going to use his athleticism. He's a better blocker than a lot of people want to give him credit for. Willing. That's what all I need is willing. I can work with the rest of it. And in the end, what do I have Travis Kelce for? Okay, he's a complete tight end, but I have him for his receiving ability. I have him for a guy
you
need a big catch.
You got him for his blocking, too, because Travis Kelce is a great blocker as well.
I mean, it's a bonus, but that's not...
No, it's not a bonus. That's a big part of his game.
Dude, why is he making Pro Bowls? Because he's a great blocker?
But you don't have to take him off the field when blocking situations
he's not a
come
liability. He's not like Jimmy Graham out there, but guess what? Jimmy Graham was making Pro Bowls because he was a great receiver. We need dynamic weapons, Steve Atwater, and this is the thing, man. Albert Okwuegbunam could be that guy too.
I agree. But blocking is going to be a big part of it. You don't think that because the guy can go out here and catch passes that's going to be enough. Blocking is going to be a huge part of who wins that starting tight end position.
See, once again, this is that
we don't know. We'll see.
This is that old school mentality. You got to be a really good blocker to be on the field. We'll see. We will see. I asked on draft, after the draft, I asked Nathaniel Hackett that very question, and he did not make it sound to me like that was.
What did he say?
That was going to be an impediment for Greg Dulcich to see the field.
What were the words?
I think he said, we'll see. No, I'm just kidding. No, he just said, no, man, we drafted this guy because he has talent that we don't currently have on our roster, and we think he profiles to be an elite kind of player in this league. So the thing is, you could to bring somebody else in here, and they're like, yeah, I think Greg Dulcich is okay. You brought me on today, and I'm going to tell you, I think Greg Dulcich could be very special in this league, and he's got to get over the soft tissue thing, but I think he's going to be really good.
You know, I agree with that. But the thing, what I'm saying though, is that I agree on the pass catching side. I haven't seen him block Baron Browning or Bradley Chubb.
Sure. We haven't seen that yet.
You know, we haven't seen that yet.
That's fair.
Once we see that, then I can say that's our guy.
Okay, but do you need that as a rookie? Do you need him? I mean, especially now when you're looking for receiving options.
Well, I mean, obviously he'll improve over his career, but if he can do it right now, that makes it even better. So I can say he's going to be the man right now.
Listen, as long as he is a tick above, and it's interesting he's wearing number 80, right? A tick above Julius Thomas, who, as Shannon Sharpe once said, couldn't block the sun out of his eyes. As long as he's better than that, I think we're going to be just fine.
Well, guess what? Shannon started really shining once Mike Shanahan got here, and Mike Shanahan stressed to Shannon that, hey, you got to make sure that you are doing a great job of blocking.
He's going to be
Bam,
just fine.
And this is very similar offense, especially on the run side.
Yeah, that's the 1990s.
Hey, that's all right.
You were wearing
similarities to every generation.
You were wearing hammer pants back then. I think we're a little bit different era. And look at the shorts he's wearing. I guess a little bit more of a throwback to that.
They weren't hammer. They were like super huge, wide bell bottoms.
Bell bottoms. You were bringing it back. I love that. I'm excited. Tight end room is fun. And you know another guy we haven't even brought up is Andrew Beck, who has a lot of versatility. And Russell Wilson seems to really like him.
Hold up. What about Eric Tomlinson?
Now, Eric Tomlinson's an interesting dude because...
And Sauber. Sauber been balling out there.
Sauber's been having a great training camp. I expect because of Dulcich not being available, Sauber is getting the bulk of those looks. But once again, we can only go off what we've seen, right? And if Dulcich hasn't been available, that's somebody else has to step up, and it's been Sauber. So Tomlinson is, in my opinion, he's just like an extra offensive tackle. Well, it's very clear that Dulcich has the best hair on this team. Like, I mean, there's no denying that.
He could have a second career in modeling while he's playing ball too.
I asked him about his conditioning regimen when he was drafted, and I don't think we had enough minutes on the radio to go into all the details of what he actually does to make his hair look that glorious.
Oh, he's talking about his hair. For conditioning his hair. I'm not talking about conditioning.
That is the greatest moment in the history of broadcasting.
Oh, man.
What are we talking about hair?
What all does he do?
We were on the topic of hair.
What all does he do?
Again, he's like, look, we don't have enough time. And he sort of talked about it, rinse, repeat. I got this conditioner, I got these oils. I don't remember all of it. It's like I was writing it down. Don't look at my hair. Don't look at my hair.
You took some of his tips. Yeah, it's looking kind of fluffy there.
Don't look at my hair.
Looking good, man.
It's fluffy because I need a haircut. Don't look at my hair. This is the wrong example of when we're talking about great hair.
Man. Look at it. He's looking good, isn't he? There we go. R. Edwards.
But I'm excited about him. I think this is a good tight end room. There would have been a big topic of conversation this offseason without Noah Fant, right? It would have been like, holy cow, they are one injury away, because Albert Okwuegbunam has not played a full season yet. They're one injury away from being in a really bad spot. I think they've done a good job adding to that room.
Yeah. Now, Albert O right now taking reps with the ones. Do you think it's a serious competition there, or you think, hey, first game of the season, if he's healthy, he's going to be starting?
He's starter. Yeah, he's tight end one. And because he can block, he can receive, he's got the 4.5 speed, right? So he's going to be able to bring everything you want from that position. But when you get into 12 personnel, that's when things get really intriguing.
Who's two?
Yeah, who's the tight end two out there? Is it going to be a Tomlinson or Sauber? Or do you want to bring a little more dynamic out there with Dulcich?
When you say dynamic, what does that mean?
That means getting both tight ends out en route.
That means not blocking.
That means not blocking. You know what I mean by dynamic. I didn't mumble.
All right.
I sort of mumbled. But you know what I mean? That's where things get really fun to see what the tight end group could be.
What about Andrew Beck?
Andrew Beck's great, and he's been lining up in some of those two-back sets, and they put him in motion sometimes. They got the offset eye. Man, I tell you what, early on in offseason, we saw Andrew Beck catching passes on the goal line. Russell Wilson, they spent a good 20 minutes after practice, just those two guys during the offseason working on goal line routes and concepts.
Really?
Just those two guys. And him lining up sort of, hey, you're right behind me there in the fullback, just sort of offset. Maybe you're flanking me. I mean, like, just running all sorts of different variations. So, again, I'm not telling fantasy football people out there to go grab Andrew Beck in your leagues, but I'm saying it wouldn't shock me if he ended up getting 4 touchdowns this year. Like, if something happened where he got 4 rushing and receiving touchdowns, it wouldn't shock me.
But would that mean he would be playing in place of Albert O, or is that he'd just be playing in a different position? He'd be playing from the fullback position.
From the fullback position, yeah. So, again, you're going more of that. I mean, I'm not saying we're going like 22 personnel, but like, say you're going like a 21 personnel kind of deal. And so you get a running back. And again, we've also seen some opportunities out here with Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams on the field at the same time. That's the one thing with losing Tim Patrick. You start to say, okay, well, for the coaching staff who are taking a guy who had 85 targets last year and wondering, what are we going to do with that?
Yeah.
Well, you can get creative. There's ways to get creative with that. It could go to another wide receiver, or you could say, well, running backs out of the backfield, extra tight ends. I mean, there's different ways you can do this. And Nathaniel Hackett's offense, coming off the Green Bay Packers offense, is going to utilize those weapons really well.
Yeah, and in camp now, I've been saying they don't have all the plays in right now. It's a process of, working through, making sure you got the plays down before you move on. But we haven't seen a ton of that. The backs getting the ball out of the backfield. Them being targeted a lot. But I'm sure that's a big part of the playbook. And both Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon should see significant receptions out of the backfield this year.
I would think so. We saw in some of the early portions of camp passes out into the flat, some wheel routes for these guys. They're both. The one thing that you love about both these running backs, among many things, is they're both plus pass pro guys. As in,
yes,
when they're on the field, you're not tipping your hand.
Right.
They could stay in. They could go out and route. They can catch passes out of the backfield. There isn't one of those like, hey, when one of these guys comes in, the defense immediately knows, oh, well, we got an advantage
it's
there.
A pass. We know it's a
right,
pass.
Right. We know he's not staying back there. We know where he's going. So that is the one brilliant thing about these two running backs is they're so similar in their skill set that you don't lose anything one way or the other.
Is that you, Ryan, that was there?
Yeah, that would totally be me.
44 there. That's my man. That's Bobby Humphrey's son.
I'd say more closer to the line of scrimmage. Falling down would have been probably more appropriate. I think once one arm tackle got on me, I would have been good.
Come on, Ryan. You could tackle Javonte Williams, couldn't you? And Melvin Gordon?
Yeah, I sort of feel like we could do some of the, like something for charity, like can you tackle Javonte Williams running full speed? Other than the insurance liability on that probably would be a problem.
Yeah. That's crazy. Melvin Gordon, man, at this point in his career, still has the breakaway speed.
Oh, he's great.
Do you think some people underestimate what he can do?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you?
I don't. No, dude, I was the one calling for the Broncos to bring in Melvin Gordon a couple years ago. It's like the Broncos need more. And Melvin Gordon, his skill set, he's great at the goal line. He's got really good hands. I mean, you can line him up a receiver. And think about this for a second. The Green Bay Packers offense, for example, they had Aaron Jones. They got A.J. Dillon out there. Yep. There's a little bit different style, but they're both physical backs. But they use Aaron Jones in the pass. They line him in the slot and let him run around out there, run routes. You could do the same thing with Melvin Gordon. He's got those kinds of hands. So no, I think he's underrated in so many different ways. The fact that he was still available when he was is a little bit of a weird deal for me. The Broncos got an unbelievable value of bringing him back.
Yeah, no, I agree there. We're showing 39.
Tyreek McAllister.
Tyreek McAllister?
Yeah. Yeah, and Mike Boone over there. Yep, so you got running backs 3 and 4. Max Borghi, of course, now RB5. I guess this is where, you see a lot of those guys during preseason, right? This is where that's that opportunity for them is to get out there because I don't know how much you're going to see Javonte or Melvin. Maybe first series, second series kind of stuff with first-team offense. But this is where if you want a shot at making this roster, you get a chance during preseason and these padded practices too, because really how do you?
This is it. This is everything right here.
Like you and I've talked about this for years. How do you really decide how good a running back is until the pads come on?
No, you can't.
You can't, right?
You can't. Well, I mean, you can see guys' vision, if they're hitting the right hole. But many times, if they know they're not going to get hit, they'll hit the right hole.
Right.
The only time they won't hit the right hole is when, hey.
I mean, sure. Right, the vision there.
They got somebody coming at them in that hole, ready to meet them in that hole.
But again, it's the combination of that and the blocking from the offensive line that you really don't get until the pads come on and until you see it in game situations. So, listen, for Max Borghi, for Tyreek McAllister, for any of the guys, any down roster guys, your opportunity's coming. These are like kind of the quizzes out here, but the final test, the tests are the preseason games.
Yeah. So, in K-Jack over there,
yeah, man.
he's been getting the vet day today. Got to be getting the vet day.
Did you get a lot of vet days back in your day?
Yeah, we got a few vet days.
Yeah, once in a while.
Few vet days, yeah. Ed,
Mike took care of you guys?
Yeah, Mike, Ed, they took care of us
right.
up in training camp. Remember something we'd have 2-a-days and or we have a meeting in the evenings and we come into the meeting, Croc and Ray Crockett and Tyrone Braxton and I, and he's like, hey man, you guys get on out of here.
There you go. There's John.
Yeah, you got John here, third day in a row. I know that it's inspiring for Russell Wilson. He's spent a great amount of time with John. He's there with George Payton, the general manager, who I think has been doing an amazing job as well. Great to see those guys.
It's a cool setup, honestly, and so rare to have the situation play out the way it is, because most of the time, let's say for George Payton, when you're taking over for another GM, that GM is no longer the organization,
right?
He's
out of there.
But John Elway is in kind of a different category, in part because of his relationship with the Broncos, what he's meant to this community, and it was never. And I said this a long time ago, like they're never going to just ever move on from John Elway completely. No. That was never going to be the case. But the fact that we're able to have this transition where George Payton has a chance to talk to John Elway, he's a very successful GM. Like really, I mean, you just look at the track record, look what he's done. The quarterback thing is always going to be something that I know bugs him, that he was never able to kind of figure that out. But again,
but how many teams have that same issue?
Sure.
That's the most difficult position to evaluate, because guys can have all the success in the world in college and come and be totally different players once they get to the NFL.
I completely agree with you, and so I love the dynamic of that. George Payton, it's his show, but he gets an opportunity to pick the brain of a guy that has a very successful career, and he left this team in good shape. Really, cap space, lots of talent. I mean, you think about that first year for George Payton, he was just basically bringing back all the guys John brought here. So history will remember his tenure with the Broncos much more positively than some people would like to put out there.
Yeah. All right, Ryan, well, hey, man, it's been great.
Yeah, man.
Hey, we'll check back in a little later with you. But for now, we're going to send it back over to UAP, my man, Ryan Edwards.
Appreciate you.
Thanks so much, Steve. We're so excited for you guys to all have the chance to participate in the London raffle. This is an amazing opportunity to win a 5-night stay in London for the Broncos' Week 8 game at the historic Wembley Stadium up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. This includes first-class round-trip tickets for 2, a behind-the-scenes experience, and so much more. This trip is valued at over $22,000, and all you have to do is go to broncosraffle.com to participate. 1 ticket, $50. 3 for $100, 8 for $200, and 25 tickets for just $500. All the proceeds benefit the Denver Broncos charities, so just head on over to broncosraffle.com for a chance to win. Don't forget, you must be 18 years or older and in Colorado to participate. Guys, team huddled up here after practice. It was a great second day in full pads for the Denver Broncos. Was there anything that you guys saw out there today that you didn't see the first 7 days of practice?
Well, I definitely saw a bump up in the intensity. The guys were thudding up a little bit. That was heartwarming for me as a safety and defensive player. Just, seeing the guys get in position, put the shoulder pads on them, and guys absorbing the blows and continuing on the run. I think that in order for them to have a great season, they're going to have to be physical.
Right.
And they started that today.
Well, that's part of the reason why you do these team practices, these team drills, right? 11 on 11 is you get the opportunity to have game experience, game moments like today where you had a 2-minute drill. You had to go 80 yards to get points at all, but they were going for a touchdown. Russell Wilson drove the team down. They ended up scoring an 18-yard touchdown to Trey Quinn. One of the things I wanted to see today is the response now, first day in pads since Tim Patrick's injury.
Exactly.
Which wide receivers are getting those extra opportunities? Saw a lot of Brandon Johnson out there running with the first team. Trey Quinn getting that touchdown later. Montrell Washington running some deep overs later on in practice. So I'm really excited to see what this young group of wide receivers can do with the extra opportunities.
The new wideout, Darius Shepard, he had a great play today. He caught a 60-yard bomb from Josh Johnson. Safe to say that's a
first catch.
First catch as a Denver Broncos. Safe to say that's a pretty good first impression. We saw Russell Wilson go down there after.
Yeah, can you imagine running down the field, catching the pass, and your first play on the team is for a deep touchdown, and then to come, jog back to the huddle and see Russell Wilson coming towards you, like, what is he about to say?
Yeah.
He just gives you a high five. It was great.
Yeah, Shepard there getting that touchdown in the deep post. And again, it's one of those things, like, you're going to get an opportunity, whether it's the practices, the preseason, to make that kind of impression. And, boy, what a better way to do it. Now, of course, we didn't get to see a lot from him for the rest of practice. He was out there. But, like I said, this is such a great moment for these guys, especially with the preseason coming up.
Steve, you said yesterday that you really wanted to watch the tight ends here today now that they were back in full pads. Greg Dulcich, he was out there. What are your initial impressions of him and also the entire tight ends room?
Yeah, I mean, it was fun to see Greg Dulcich out there running around. I know he had been hopping a little bit by a hamstring injury, but he, Albert Okwuegbunam, they got a nice battle going on, but we got some more competition. Andrew Beck, he's out there getting reps, so there's going to be a lot of competition in that room, a lot of good players, but in the end, it's going to come down to, in my opinion, we had this conversation a little bit earlier, who's going to be the willing and best blocker?
Yeah, because everybody becomes a Hall of Famer from being a good blocker, right, Steve? That's exactly
it's not about being a Hall of Famer all the time. They're trying to win the Super Bowl.
By the way, you mispronounced the next Travis Kelce, but that's okay. I'll let you get away with that.
We're trying to win the Super Bowl.
Greg Dulcich looked really good out there, running with team, which the first day we've seen in the walkthrough they did a little bit. Yeah, he was out there with the team, making catches. Albert Okwuegbunam with a clutch catch on that 80-yard drive. Now, I ended up getting backed up a little bit later on to a 3rd and 15, which, by the way, they did convert, right, a pass to Javonte Williams, and then the 38-yard pass to his number 1 wideout, Cortland Sutton. But Albert Okwuegbunam, money catch to get a first down early on in that drive. So tight ends are going to be big in this offense, no doubt about it.
Who do you think wins this battle?
There is no battle. They're both playing. Why is there always competition with you?
Who's going to be starting?
Because he's a Hall of Famer.
Are they both going to start?
That's why there's competition.
Oh, that's right.
Are they both going to start?
That's fair. Albert Okwuegbunam is going to start. He's the vet.
Ryan.
He's the vet. But Greg Dulcich, when they get into 12 personnel, look out. I'm just telling you.
No, I'm with you on that.
Okay, I have to mention the Denver defense before we get out of here. These guys just flying to the ball again here today. Damari Mathis with another big interception.
DeLon Turner-Yell flying to the ball in the right position. Made a few plays out there as well.
How good is this defense right now?
So good.
Well, I mean, I'm a bit surprised. I'm wondering, is this defense actually practicing this good, or is our offense, do they not have all their plays in and they're not, just up to speed right now?
Right.
I don't know what it is right now, but, yeah, this defense is looking amazing.
It's a bit of both, right? You're still installing things on the offense.
Absolutely.
You're still working some things out. So I feel like it's a little bit of both can be true here. But one of the things you loved about DeLon Turner-Yell, watching the tape of him, he does fly to the ball.
Yes.
And so getting him in opportunities to be able to do that is fantastic. And, yeah, Mathis coming with the interception. He needs plays. I think Jamar Johnson got an interception today, so it was a good day for the secondary.
Browning on the edge, making a few plays.
Oh,
yes,
man.
yes.
So good.
Playmaker.
Defense, they look pretty stellar right now. Looking forward to what they can do this upcoming season. You guys, that is all the time we have for Broncos Training Camp 2022. You guys actually got a preview of our show tomorrow throughout this one here today as the Hall of Famer heads to Canton to celebrate the newest inductees. Our friends Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Albright from Broncos Country tonight, they will be on the stage for day 9. You guys can find that show right here on the Broncos YouTube channel, denverbroncos.com, and the Broncos 365 app. After practice tomorrow, looking good there, Ryan Edwards.
There we go,
Yeah.
Edwards.
Like it.
From our entire Broncos broadcast crew, thank you all so much for watching. We will see you all tomorrow.